Hey, what's up? So I know this topic has been discussed before many times, but still not enough. I think we have to keep talking about it and spreading the word. I mean, after all, streaming is supposed to kill the movie theaters, right? I know a lot of people feel this way, and the bad guys want you to believe that, but I know they're wrong. And they've been saying this for years now, even before the pandemic. But that was supposed to be the nail in the coffin, right? I mean, who in the right mind will go back in a crowded movie theater ever again, right? Get the cooties? There's no way. I mean, the shoe did a good job to convince you of that, but they've been proven wrong already over and over. And so I want to use Game of Thrones here as one my example. It's probably my one of my favorite shows of all time, at least seasons 1 through 4, and then season 5 through 8 where it started going downhill. But that doesn't matter. It's still one of the best shows ever made. So, for the record, I do want to say that I believe there's a place for both to coexist, movie theaters and streaming. And not only coexist, but they thrive together. And so using Hard Home here is one of the best rated episodes of the entire show and one of my favorites. And I want to ask you, fans, whether you're a fan of Game of Thrones or not, or any other show that has a high production value and looks pretty cool, if the producers could look back and go back in time, knowing what they had in their product, right? They knew that they had a great episode and people would be excited and talking about it. They couldn't wait to air it. If they knew and they could go back in time, wouldn't they want to show this in a theater? I mean, especially since they made us wait a couple of weeks between episodes and they got longer and longer. They were like an hour and a half. And why wouldn't you? I mean, you go through all this spending money and effort into putting together a masterpiece. I think something people would remember and fans of the show would love to go see on a big screen on Dolby Surround and enjoy it. I mean, people will line up, including myself. I know I would have if had I known. The anticipation alone would have been crazy. I mean, people would say this episode is going to be one of the most epic ones and whatnot. And any fan of the show at the time, as big as Game of Thrones was, I believe would have filled the theaters from 7 or 9 p.m. on a Sunday. I mean, it gave the advantage to people that wanted to see it ahead of the people that just want to see it on streaming. To me, that's money flushed down the toilet. They would have made so much money. And I believe they realize that now. Now I'll let this play for a little bit so you remember how good this was. Maybe think about how much better it would have been on the big screen. You remember this moment? This was sad. So how the showrunners decided not to have Jon Snow face the Night King is beyond me, but that's for another discussion. So now, as far as this goes, I mean, streamers like Netflix were supposed to kill the movie theaters. Here's how they may end up as friends, right? So they go on to talk about how the new Nike movie came out and how Amazon and Apple are very much investing into making movies in the future. It's invested over $1 billion each, I believe. Now, Nike did pretty well itself. And this was in spite of what I said on a video before, where they decided to release the movie at the same time that they caused the controversy with the Dylan guy. So I believe they lost at least half the revenue. I don't know. I mean, a lot of Nike fans got really upset. So that was their fault. So here they go on saying how they're investing in the future. Movie going still hasn't reached its pre-pandemic levels yet, but it's getting close. Movie after movie has overperformed at the box office lately, including Creed 3, which we saw, John Wick 4 also, and the Mario Brothers movie, of course, which is breaking records left and right. Enjoyed all those movies. Also Top Gun and The Way of Water, which of course is making everybody be excited about movies again. Little by little, we're regaining our stance or what we're trying to say here. So these companies are taking note. Now let me go over to what is the important part here, because this is a long article here. So both Amazon and Apple have signaled that they have invested 1 billion plus, making more movies, want to release them on the theaters. This is important too, as far as they're not totally out of the woods. Some movie theaters are in trouble, financial trouble, and that's the main concern of them. Even the Cineworld has filed for bankruptcy. And that's up to us. It's up to us to change that narrative and actually showing up to movies if we don't want them to go away. I don't want them to go away because it's a really good experience and a really good investment. And I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of people who are saying how movies are starting to suck so much and they're tired of, they watch so much streaming that they're getting burnt out, so everything looks very repetitive to them. But that, in fact, is, I blame on the streaming. It's just too much and they can't keep up. And then they start pumping out bad content and then people get mad. And that's what's happening. A director here from Warner Brothers says direct to streaming movies were providing really no value to us. Meaning that, yeah, making movies and adding them to your streaming for free pretty much, it's not really making people sign up to the service. It doesn't work that way. He even goes on to say here how they squashed a $70 million Batgirl movie that was coming out, and I know they probably knew that was going to bomb pretty bad, so they scrapped it. It's all about making money for them now, and I'm going to show you why. Here. So it should be noted that many made much the same argument well before the pandemic, but Wall Street craves subscription growth from streaming services. Again, Wall Street, now this is the fight that the apes and myself and everybody's aware of. They're trying to say. They call us delusional. They call us, we're overreacting to things, and it's not true because we have come to understand that Wall Street runs everything. They're the ones who are paying off with politicians and lawmakers. They're buying up all the corporations, and what they say is what matters. It's not about the fans. It never has been about the fans. They want subscriptions and your little money, but what it really comes down to is this. Wall Street craves subscriptions growth from streaming services, and studios eagerly chase the reward. Again, this is about the CEOs of the studios and whatnot, because they get paid as the stock goes up. The studios eagerly chase the reward, rising stock prices, until they bottom out and fell last year. As subscription members slowed, the signal from Wall Street shifted to growing the streaming platforms and making money too. This is where the whole problem is starting. See how it becomes. Wall Street says jump, CEOs of these companies are going to say how high. They don't care about fans and what they think of their content, and it's the only explanation why some of the woke and other problems that we're having with movies from Disney and other studios lately are doing what they do. They really don't care about what we say. They only care about what Wall Street is telling them to do. They've been arguing this for years now, but they're glad that they're actually trying to get it right. Now this year, let me see, because there is, I know Scorsese is making a movie that was supposed to go on streaming, but it's coming out on the theaters now, so he's very well known and respected. Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon are both going to be released on theaters only, which is awesome. It's good news. Now, this is a key thing that I wanted to say from a Scorsese, which makes a lot of sense to me. Maybe these new companies might say, let's invest in the future of the new generations for creativity, says Scorsese. Because a young person actually going to see a film in the theater, that person who knows, that person who knows 5 or 10 years later could be a wonderful novelist, a painter, a musician, composer, filmmaker, whatever. You don't know where that inspiration is going to land when you throw it out there, but it's got to be out there. That's what he's referring to. This is maybe why we have so many problems lately with new directors and the quality of movies that we're getting. Really is because a lot of people just don't do it anymore. They're kind of like not uh, become complacent, but I guess in a way that's what it is. They're not inspired, and there's no young talent coming up fast enough. Now, just to put it on perspective of how Wall Street controls everything, this again is it's a quick show. It's not to do much, but you can see how Warner Brothers stock has dropped so much, 44% over the last year, right? Then you got a Disney, which has more to do than just streaming, of course, but they've also dropped 24%. It's probably going to drop more after the bad products they put out in this last quarter. Paramount itself, who actually had Top Gun, one of the best movies, they still dropped 35%. You look at Amazon because I know they're a whole lot more than just streaming, but they are very much into streaming and investing into it. They've dropped 32%. And then, of course, you have Netflix, right? The big darling of Wall Street, who recently just reported and missed on all aspects of their earnings. And bam, look at that. Bam, stock dropped all the way down to 295. But because Wall Street likes him, Wall Street wants him to succeed and whatnot, bounced right back, all the way back pretty much on the same hour. And now it's struggling a little bit and it's recovering and it's like nothing has ever happened. Streaming services are struggling too because they need to pay for all this content. It's not realistic to think that you can just pay $9.99 and you're going to get all the best stuff. It's just they're trying to keep up, but they can't. So is this what you want to do as a streamer? Is this our future was going to be? You're going to have to pay $12.99 here, $9.99 here, $18.99 here, who knows what, $3.99, so and so, and you're going to have a screen full of, this is craziness. I mean, I personally don't want that. I also don't want them to consolidate it into one or two because then they're going to have pricing power that it won't be realistic. You're not going to be paying $18. You're going to be paying 70, 80, 100. It's up to them if they become a monopoly of the streaming. So you should always want to keep competition going and keep the options going for yourselves. Again, and this last one real quick here to show you how Netflix has been doing. Of course, during the pandemic, how it increased 47%, 84% increase during the pandemic. Of course they did. Everybody stayed home and was forced to watch Netflix, right? Now that it's over, you see the slow decline, 11% here, the next one 15% more, and the next one 18% more. It's on a decline because, again, they can't pump up the content fast enough and people get mad when you put out bad stuff and there's backlash and whatnot. So it's not realistic. Now, to end, I want to show you another episode that I remember is one of the best from Game of Thrones, which again would have been awesome on the big screen, right? And again, it was a little over dramatic, but it was pretty awesome. I mean, I remember this episode a lot, and I think a lot of us thought that Jon Snow was gone for good. But it is the point that I'm trying to make that a lot of these episodes and the money that these streaming services spend on making such good content, I mean, could be well spread into people that really enjoy going and seeing these things at the theaters where they belong. So if you tell me that had you known and had the option been there and you were a big fan, would this not have been you, right? You remember the days when the movies were awesome and everybody was lining up like this. This would have been me. I'll admit when the I didn't want to show the episode of the Night King because that makes me so pisses me off so much. But um, had you known, even the final episode, right, of Game of Thrones, the big fight on the against the Night King, even if we didn't know how it turned out, wouldn't you have loved to have seen it at a theater? I know I would have. It was that big for me, and at the time, I would have loved it. And I hope that these streaming services realize that they can actually coexist and be work well together. And yeah, so that's all for now. Thanks.